What do you want? My childhood?
Yes.
Oh, I was the original spoiled brat because I am the youngest child in the entire Steinberg family. And I was born as my family was coming from the cemetery where my grandmother was buried, and I was named for my grandmother. And all of my children were B'nai Akiva in the United States. All of my children came on Hachshara, and all of my children made Aliyah, which is why I'm in Jerusalem. But we were determined to come to Israel because Saba retired early because I was working and he was working and there was income coming into the house, and he paid attention. He decided he would pay attention only to Jewish requirements in terms of politics. And he was a voice that was heard, and he had connections that were heard. And when we came to Israel, Saba and Aaron started our newsletter. We have a newsletter that comes out 7 days a week, and it is exclusively about matters of interest and concern to Israel. It's called IMRA, I-M-R-A, Independent Media Review and Analysis. And we pay for it ourselves. So nobody can say we are getting paid to do this. But in Israel, everybody is part of the country. We can yell at each other, we can complain about each other, but we worry about each other. And that's not true in the United States. I think, and it's a universal, in Israel, it's a universal situation. I mean, Charedim and non-Charedim can argue about each other, but when push comes to shove, everybody is like this. It's a different world. It's an entirely different world. I hope Hashem keeps us going. Signed up for a class with Professor Zelig Perlman in economics. And while I was talking to him, I noticed that he had this Russian Yiddish accent in his English. So I said something in Yiddish, and he says to me, "Bist a Yid?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Gewiss." He said, "You're going to be my graduate student, my graduate assistant. You won't have to pay tuition." I didn't have to pay tuition. I was earning $90. And I was earning other money, et cetera, et cetera. So I was loaded. I was being interviewed, and they gave me a document to read that they could question me about. And it was about BTUs. I didn't know what a BTU was. A BTU is the British thermal measurement. It's equal to a calorie. I knew about calories. I didn't know about BTUs. So they started asking me questions, and I said, "I'm very sorry, I can't comment on this paper because I don't know what a BTU is." And they looked at me like I was from outer space. And I left. They said, it turned out the reason I got the job was when I went away, Saba was there. I was being questioned, and he was sort of dancing around in his usual way. So when I went away, Harold Barnett, who was the boss, said to him, "Should I hire this girl?" And he said, "Hire her. She's stupid, but she's honest." And the other thing he said to me, which was very important when he finally decided to ask me out on a date, he asked me to play tennis. He said, "You play tennis?" I said, "Oh, sure." I'd never played tennis in my entire life. So I said, "Okay, I'll play tennis with you." He said, "Well, meet me at the court," et cetera, et cetera. They were free in Washington. Oh, I rushed to the department store and I bought a tennis dress and I bought sneakers and I bought something little girdle to hold up my stockings and a tennis hat, and I went out to the tennis court and I met Joe Lerner, who had his army sweatshirt wrapped around his head to absorb the perspiration and his army shorts. And he ran me around that tennis court until I thought I would drop dead. I'd never played tennis in my life. We start walking home from the tennis court, and he said, and I quote, "I'll make a deal with you. If you promise never to play tennis with me again, I'll marry you." I said, my God, what kind of a maniac did I run into here? And so I married him. Had to keep my word. Okay?
Okay, that's a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Savta.
Very patient people.
Thank you very much, Savta.
It's my pleasure.
It's my pleasure, actually.